Melody Cherie wasn't physically or visually in this episode, but she definitely was in the episode. Let's get into my Love and Marriage Huntsville recap. So the episode opens up with Tricia in her office, later joined by Ken. Ken comes in, gives her a kiss, and Tricia is telling him about how she wants to switch from doing her engineering job and become a full-time fitness trainer. She wants to do it full-time. Being a personal fitness trainer is her passion. And to be honest, I definitely believe that. She seems to light up whenever she discusses anything fitness or helping people. So it's definitely her go-to thing. Ken comes in saying, oh, you got the best multitasker in me. I'm going to help you and it's going to be great. And your partner is definitely supposed to be supportive, but I just don't feel like Ken is being genuine, if that makes sense. And let me know what you guys thought about it. So the next scene that we have is them basically discussing Maurice and the graduation party for the kids. And they just really making it seem like it was all Maurice's fault. Like they didn't play no role in the foolishness that they was carrying on with. And I was like, y'all don't have any accountability in the role that y'all play with this situation with Maurice. Again, that event was supposed to be about the kids and it really just turned into a shit show. So the next scene is we have Maurice coming to Martell's place. And Martell is like saying in his confessional, I don't need him coming over here trying to lecture me. And I'm like, exactly. So Maurice comes over to check on Martell after that big blow up. And right off the bat, based on the questions that Maurice is asking Martell, I'm like, oh, he just coming over here to make sure that Martell isn't about to blow up his spot. That's what it gives basically when he's asking, well, did you get it all out? Like, are you all good? So Maurice is like kind of diagnosing why Martell and Marsau have a problem. Well, you guys didn't really resolve the issues that you have since Scope broke up. But my thing is, they bought Martell out of Scope. So what issues did they have there? Okay. So he was like, yeah, it's because, y'all fell out because of Scope and y'all been trying since then, but you haven't got back on the good foot. And I'm like, business is business. They bought him out and Marsau's wife became the full owner. So then you can kind of see how Maurice is leading Martell because somehow Martell's actions are going to end up being Melody's fault. And as I'm watching this, I'm like, watch him bring up Mel. So Martell is just listening to Maurice. And I'm just saying to myself, Martell don't even see how Maurice is like shading him with some of the stuff that he says. And Maurice is like, hurt people. And because of the stuff that Melody has done to you, you're reacting in this way. And I'm like, this male fault? They've been divorced about 5 years. So Martell said that situation between him and Marsau wasn't supposed to go that far, but he got upset and he was like, Martell went to saying how he doesn't have any enemies and he doesn't fall out with people. Baby, all right, if that's what you think. So Maurice was saying, then lets him know, like, you guys, you shouldn't have brought Tisha into it. Basically lecturing him, but it seems like Martell was listening. So then Maurice kind of switches gears and talks about Melody. Melody, I see the things that Melody has done to you, and then now she's trying to project that onto me, saying that Melody is only famous because of what Martell did to her. And I'm like, ooh. I said, these Scott brothers have a way of trying to diminish someone's value and diminish someone's hard work. And I'm like, Martell, he's so silly. He doesn't even realize that he's shading him. Talking about Melody has gone through embarrassment. The first episode of the show was called Embarrassing Whatever. She's been embarrassed by you and all of this stuff. And I'm like, she's trying to sit on her throne and tell me how she's disappointed in me and my DUI and all of this stuff. And I'm like, I mean, your behavior is disappointing, is it not? You want to come on here and, you want to present to the world that you're this great guy and you're so eloquent and you carry yourself a certain way, but you don't. So, and basically telling him Melody is projecting and Melody feels like Martell is Satan in the flesh and she's trying to project that onto me. And Martell is just sitting there and I'm like, this just going over your head, dude. You not even realizing it, that he's shading you too. Like, you're not going to defend. And I'm like, my thing is this. When Melody was talking to Maurice, she didn't bring up the cheating or the red lipstick, not from what we saw anyway. She strictly talked to him about the DUI. And she was told to talk directly to Maurice about the DUI by his wife. So I don't understand. She went directly to the source. So you're talking about she's disparaging your character and all of this stuff. So I'm just like, Maurice is just trying to dog Mel out to Martell, to the only person that would really listen, and he thought that Martell was really going to join in and drag her. And I respect the fact that Martell just sat and just listened. He didn't join in and drag Melody, and I thought that was a point of maturity for him, because he could have easily went in on his ex-wife, but he chose to just sit and listen. And I feel like, Maurice was trying to use dog whistles and try to pull Martell in by saying, look how she treated you and look how she's done you and she's doing the same to me. Boy, cry me a damn river, okay? So, they're saying that Mel, he doesn't know this Mel anymore. The Mel that is being presented to the world is concerned about her image and how she looks and all of this. And I'm like, maybe if you was a little bit more concerned about your image and how you look, you wouldn't have caught a DUI in the first damn place. Maybe you should be more concerned about your image. Maybe you do have things to lose, and maybe you need to refocus and reprioritize. And I'm like, at this point, Maurice is a puss ass and he a puss ass, and I'm sick of it. I'm like, why you didn't say if you feel so strongly about Mel is projecting and she's doing all of this, why you didn't say it to her face when you had the opportunity, instead of taking a caraway out and using dog whistles and saying that she was attacking you? Like, get over yourself. You on your high horse. You move around. Move around. Back to him talking about Melody is calculated, and Martell said, yeah, man, she's really taking me through it and all of this stuff. And I'm like, that's all he got out of Martell, basically. Martell just sat. And I'm like, listen, people that have stuff to lose, they are conscious of their image. Before this show, Melody was already on a trajectory of making money. Before this show, they were considered one of the power couples in Huntsville, Martell and Melody. So they were locally known for sure, but this show did bring them national fame. But you're trying to say her only claim to fame is because Martell cheated? If that's the fact, then why Martell isn't famous like that? Why doesn't Martell have his ducks in a row? Why isn't Martell more successful? That's my question. Okay. So Maurice trying to tear down Melody, it doesn't make him look good. It just doesn't. And to be honest with you, him and his wife, they need to go, because it's the most you ever seen them this season anyway. And I feel like somebody told them that they need to step it up. So the next scene we have is Trish meeting up with Kimmi at Kimmy's office. Trish is serious about leaving her 9 to 5 as an engineer to be a full-time trainer. She expresses to Kimmi that she wants to open up a gym. She also inquires with Kimmi, how was your transition? Because, Kimmi left her nursing job to be a real estate agent, in addition to take care of Maurice's son. And she wants to know, how has the transition gone for her? Kimmi tells her, it's going to be a while. You have to get used to not having that steady income, but the payoff is good. You just got to work hard. It's going to be long hours and so on and so forth. Then Kimmi brings up that she had a chat with Mel, because of course they got to talk about Mel, because what else is there for them to talk about, because they're not talking about their business. So Kimmi says that even though Kimmi didn't want to discuss the DUI arrest, Mel should have still came to her and discuss the lipstick on the lip thing with her if she's her so-called friend. And I'm like, girl, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You told her to go talk to Maurice. She did that. You told her you didn't want to talk about the arrest at all. And that red lipstick includes the arrest. Both Kimmi and Tricia said that they never heard in the YouTube streets or the social media streets about his lips looking red. Do y'all believe that, guys? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification so you're aware the next time I drop a recap. So then Trish says, they bring up the open house. Kimmi says, Martell is having an open house. Are you attending? Trish said, I still feel kind of awkward, but I don't want to go. She's like, well, why do you still feel awkward about it? And Kimmi says, every time I talk to this girl, I find out a little bit more information. So Tricia divulges that Chris Fletcher is the one that told Martell about Tricia and to basically get at her or something like that. And Tricia was like, she didn't know that. She found that out. Martell and her ran into the gym and Martell had told her that. So Kimmi, his mouth was wide open and she was shocked by this information. He was like, he didn't understand Fletcher doing that, especially if that's your cousin. Martell did. And I'm like, wow. I'm telling y'all, some of these Huntsville guys seem to be very sneaky. So the next scene, I believe this is Martell's therapist. And if it's not, correct me if I'm wrong. So we see that it's a therapy session at his home, and she comes in and she's asking him, like, what is his goals for himself. He says, talking about raising successful children and stuff like that. And the therapist is like, that's a great goal, but I want to talk more specifically about you. Martell opens up in the session basically saying he has a problem cutting things off or anything. He knows things, certain people in his life are not good for him, but yet he still keeps them around even though he knows it's not a good look for him. So who do you think he was talking about, guys? Let me know in the comments in that section. Who do you think he was talking about? The therapist told him basically from what she's observed, it seems like he uses the children and other types of relationships to distract him from focusing and developing himself. And I'm like, okay, that seems like a pretty good assessment. So the therapist says, well, what else do you need to work on? And Martell's like, that's the only thing. And she looked at him like, no, that is not. So Martell humbly says, well, just tell me what's damaged about myself and then I can work, I want to work on getting better. And I was like, oh, okay. This is a new side of him. He's willing to, kind of move forward and change. So the next scene is at Martell's open house. Everyone shows up. Of course, not Melody, but everyone else shows up. And they're all telling Martell how proud they are of him and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, he built homes before. But I guess maybe because this is his first one without his wife. I don't think Martell has a builder's license. So he definitely built this home under somebody else. So, okay. So they're proud of him. Great. The bar seems to be set low for Martell. I'm just saying. This the best. That's all it takes. The bar just seems to be set low. I don't care what nobody has to say. So you have Fletcher, Maurice, Ken, and Martell. They go outside, and it's funny because Martell and Ken, it looks like the exact same shirt they're wearing. Okay, so they go outside. Fletcher asks, "Oh, is Marsau coming?" Maurice is like, they got into it. Like, why are you asking? So of course, Ken, he brings up Marquise. And that's the thing. Marquise is living rent-free in Ken's head. Brings up Marquise talking about the graduation and what occurred and saying, I don't want to dog the man out, but then proceeds to dog the man out to tell him he's not a man and that he has a problem with Marquise not being present enough for the children. And I totally agree. Ken said Marquise is not comfortable around Ken. Ken says he's the good guy. He would even leave to make him feel more comfortable or whatever. And I'm like, no, he's not. You're not going to leave your house to make another man feel comfortable. You're not doing that. So stop the BS. So while the ladies are inside talking, Kimmi, Trish, and Nell, Trish brings up the fact that Fletcher is the one that talked to Martell about kind of hooking him up. So Nell was very disturbed by it because Tricia said, well, aren't you close to Melody? So I'm confused as to why he would even do something like that. Nell goes outside and gets Chris and says, basically, you the one that hooked Martell up. Martell is shocked. So she calls Chris to come inside. All the guys follow. And Martell is like, why are y'all talking about this, like, at this open house? Like, y'all could talk about other stuff. Y'all just want to talk about drama. And I kind of agree with Martell, but they was like, it's nothing else to talk about or whatever. So they get into breaking down kind of like the timeline of what occurred. Chris basically denies it. He was like, I just told him who she was. That was it. You know, he always asking about women, if it's good looking women at the gym, and I told him they are, and I just gave the name, and that was it, and they did the rest. And I agree, it does make Chris look bad, in all honesty, because isn't this your cousin? You don't know anything about her. You don't know that she was married. You knew Martell was still married at the time and going through whatever he was going through, so that does make you look bad. Ken says he doesn't believe Martell or Chris. He said their stories change up every time it gets told. And I want y'all to remember, the truth doesn't change. Remember that the truth does not change. Also, in addition to the conversation when the guys were outside, they asked for insight as far as Marquez and Ken. And Martell has said something very crucial and pivotal. He said, you shouldn't force Tricia to get a divorce. You should let her close that chapter with Marquez on her own, then pursue a relationship, because that's the best way to know if it's a good fit and if it's a good situation, basically. And I like that Martell said that. And I think Martell, you know, he has his grudges and feels like, you know, people, you know, push Melody to divorce him. But then on the other hand, he said that she planned the whole divorce out. All right. So Nell is asking Tricia, well, the time that this occurred, were they divorced? You know, Tricia was like, I don't know if they were divorced. I don't know if they signed the papers. I don't know if the ink is dry or not. And I'm like, well, at the end of the day, Tricia still decided to go over there to Martell's house. She didn't have to go. She could have just said no. And, you know, is nobody asking if she was in a relationship with Ken or was she still married? I mean, nobody's thinking to ask that. So again, it just does look bad on Chris's part. It really does. And then someone said, well, this is why Melody needs to be here. Be here for what? How's she going to help y'all sort out that timeline? Melody already told y'all what the timeline was. It was during the pandemic and it was probably fall time. And she said she was gone by then. And it was Maurice that said that, actually, that Melody needs to be here. For what? So y'all can try to rub it in her face or something? That makes no sense. So Chris, you know, he basically is explaining himself, said he didn't encourage Martell, and, you know, he's out of it, basically. And then basically the episode comes to a close. Some of the clips that we see for the next episode is going to be juicy. Maurice is trying a power tactic by calling Mel down to his attorney's office in credit one and talking about she's going around disparaging his character. And Mel tells him, you do that all fine by your lonesome, baby. And I cannot wait. Marquez admits he's still in love with Trish, and it is going to get juicier. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to follow me on my social media platforms, The Fly Aunt, and I am Ebony Ivory, The Fly Aunt. Until the next recap, Auntie loves you. Bye-bye.